Okay, for our assignment one, we were to create a presentation over the demographics of our current school and the district as well. So we'll go ahead and start off with school and community description. So this first one I was able to grab from the KSDE accountability report from 2021. From this, you can see that we have a pretty large district with just over 6,000 students. You can see that the vast majority of our student population is white at about 80%. We do have about a 11% of Hispanic students, so a little bit larger percentage of them, and then about a 1.5% of African American students, a pretty low percentage there. As far as our building itself, we do have a slightly larger African American percentage, about 2%, slightly larger percentage of Hispanics at around 14%, but we still do have that vast majority of white students, about 77%. As far as our school climate goes, it's majority working class mixed with a little bit of rural middle class. We're located just on the edge of Wichita, so we have a little bit of that farming community on the outskirts, and then we also have students that travel in from the city itself. We heavily focus on student relationships. We are a Capturing Kids' Heart school, so basically we really like to ensure that our students feel like they have a safe space to go and really heavily focus on those relationships. We do have a heavy focus on post-secondary plans and future success of students as they graduate. I'm on the IPS committee, Individual Plan of Study, so this is something that I focus on, particularly for my grade level, which is freshmen, so sort of kind of getting them started on their process for this. Our school, as far as organization goes, it really operates as sort of a family structure. We have certain teachers who are leaders for age groups. Mine in particular would be freshmen. And again, our administration has sort of an open door policy and is really open to staff suggestions. Student background information, I was not able to find current information. I was really struggling with using the new format of the KSD website. I went through all of the tabs on the report card and was just not able to find this information, but I was able to find an older version of it from 2013, so I apologize, it's a little bit older information. But as far as race and ethnicity, we did, as far as 2013, we did have a slightly higher percentage of African American students. You can see here it was about 3.5%, which is what we're currently at, is about 2%. As far as the rest of the demographics, they are pretty similar. We're still at about that 77 mark, so really not much has changed as far as that goes. ELL, this was the one I was not able to find current. It said here that our building was about 1% ELL. I do believe this is a much higher percentage now. As I personally have 2 in my class, I would assume this percentage is much higher. I would say the majority of these, I've had 3 since I started, 2 of which were native Hispanic speakers, and I had 1 that spoke, I am not entirely sure. I want to say so it was some African American language. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Socioeconomic status, I was again not able to find current information on this, but at 2013 we had a very large percentage at about 36%. So I'm assuming that this number has stayed about the same. I would hope that has not gone much higher. Again, I wasn't really able to find anything specifically from KSDE on this, but I was able to find a government website through the Department of Education. I chatted some pretty decent information on it from 2021. You can see here that our gender ratios here, we do have a larger percentage of males. There's about 90 more males than there were females when this was taken in 2021. As far as age, you can see that as you go down the classes, so as you get towards the freshman class, they are growing larger as the years progress, which sort of indicates a growing student population, which we are seeing, and as we are hiring a couple more staff members to accommodate the growing numbers of students. Student academic information. These are from 2022. I was able to pull this one from the KSC website here, that accountability report. As far as these levels here go, I believe, from what I understand, the level 1 and 2, these are considered low proficiency. These are students that we don't consider at the academic level they're supposed to be, whereas levels 3 and 4 are considered at level, and especially level 4 is going to be considered past that, more that college preparedness level. They did not pull data from 2020 as we were having the COVID pandemic. I believe that they just let that year go. But as far as we have 2018 to 2019 data and 2020 to 2021 data. So you can see here in math, again, you can see that we have a really, really large percentage of our students here in the level 1 and level 2 categories, which is really not a great area for that. You can see here that this number has stayed pretty consistently large and actually grown a little bit larger as of 2021, which we're kind of seeing that slip from our students not being in regular courses as much. ELA, you can see we do have a higher percentage of students in levels 3 and 4, so a little bit more of those that are at level or college preparedness. You can see our numbers stay pretty consistent as the years go by, but we still do have a pretty large percentage over here in the under category. Science, you can see here, it's actually my subject. You can see we have the highest percentage of students in that level 3 to 4 category, over 30% each year, except for the year that it was not tested. But we still do have a pretty good percentage in the level 1 and 2. So overall, maybe not the best scores. I'd be interested to see what they look like compared to other schools. Educational options. As far as our educational placement goes, we offer inclusion classes. Something we've really been focusing on is co-teaching. It's something that I do in a couple of my classes. So really this is just going to have those students that traditionally struggle, that are traditionally placed in special education courses. They are in regular ed courses, but they receive support either through a para or through an additional teaching support, which is sort of how we handle it at our school. As far as SPED classes, we do have what we call instructional strategy classes, IS. We don't really necessarily call them SPED classes anymore, but these are for students that are labeled SPED only, so there would be no general ed students in the classroom. As far as learning accommodations, we have a ton of them. I would say the most common ones that I have in my students in their individual education plans, their IEPs, is quiet and separate space, for their testing or for doing assessment work or things along those. Read aloud is a large one, extended time on assessment projects, things along those lines. As far as testing accommodation goes, we do have this quiet space option. We call this the Learning Lab or the Resource Center. It is an area that we always have a staff member down there for students that can be sent down to have some of their accommodations. So if they have read aloud, but they need to be in a classroom that is more quiet, this is an area that they can go and have that done for them. And then this also extended time on these. These are both also offered on our state assessments as well, but I believe this is all that they will offer our students. As far as my reflection goes, I could say that our district is pretty similar to the one that I grew up in. Actually, not too far geographically from where I grew up, but I would say that demographically it is very similar, sort of that working class community, a lot of rural farming students, and again, the vast majority being white. Our district and building is going to continue to diversify as our student body grows. As I said earlier in the presentation, we have a growing student body. So it's important that our building takes steps to ensure the comfort and safety of our growing and diversifying student bodies. I am curious about the demographics of our staff, teachers specifically, because as our students begin to diversify, I believe that our staff probably should as well. There are my references, most of them coming from KSCE and a couple I grabbed from the U.S. Department of Education. And yeah, that is it.